What's hood with you? This is Opinionated 3000. I'm your host, Mr. Opinionated. Let's jump right in and see what they got cooking.
The Factor Uncensored. A man in Louisiana will have a permanent reminder of the punishment for raping a 14-year-old girl.
Ooh.
Not only will Glenn Sullivan Sr. be headed to prison for the next 50 years, a judge has ordered that his balls be removed.
Damn.
My next guest demanded Sullivan be...
Is that legal? This judge seemed like a renegade. And I'm not laughing about the situation in no way, shape, or form. I am 1,000,000% against pedophilia, R word, any of that freaky deaky kind of stuff. Just wanted to put that out there. That don't seem like it's legal. To have your body mutilated. Not to say he don't deserve it, but it doesn't seem quite legal, though.
Physically castrated. And joining us tonight on The Factor Uncensored, we have Livingston Parish Assistant District Attorney Brad Cascio. Glad to have you here on The Factor, Mr. Cascio. Crazy situation there. A man is accused and has been convicted of raping a 14-year-old, and he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. And now part of that sentence is physical castration. Many of us have heard of chemical, but when you talk about physical, exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Of course, we're talking physical this time, as you said, unlike the chemical. I've had probably 2 or 3, I think, over the course of my career, chemical castrations that are ordered. And what that entails in the state of Louisiana is a scheduled administration of shots throughout the remainder of the defendant's life, that he has to go in, he has to report, and he has to voluntarily intake. And if he ever were to take testosterone or steroids to counteract those injections, then that would be a new charge and he would go back to prison. Mm-hmm. For the case of physical castration, we're talking about a surgeon surgically removing the defendant's testicles.
Hold on. Let me see if I got this right. They say that if he gets castrated, and then when he gets out, he decides to take steroids that's going to counteract the chemical castration. Then he'll be hit with another charge for taking steroids. Man, get where they're going. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. It just don't quite seem right, though. I mean, what happened to, people having the right to have what done to their body that they, well, he threw that right out the window when he did something to a 14-year-old, I guess. That's where it's going. Definitely not saying it's wrong, though.
And he has to report and he has to voluntarily intake. And if he ever were to take testosterone or steroids to counteract those injections, then that would be a new charge and he would go back to prison. Mm-hmm. For the case of physical castration, we're talking about a surgeon surgically removing the defendant's testicles from his body.
Got it. So now the person in question, the man convicted, is 54-year-old Glenn Sullivan Sr. How did we get here? Give us a little backstory to tell us why this was necessary.
So Glenn Sullivan has lived in Livingston Parish, to my understanding, his whole life. And I can tell you he is what we call a long-time offender or a career defendant. He has constantly been a part in the justice system as a defendant.
Is it as a sexual defendant?
Mm-hmm. And this particular crime that he's committed is just so egregious and so heinous. The raping of a 14-year-old girl, which led to her being pregnant. Now this girl is raising this child. I mean, she has to live with this the rest of her life, with this child that I'm sure she's, going to love and she's going to raise. And, I really commend her. She was able to actually finish school, get her high school diploma. And she's really making something of herself, and I'm proud of her for that. And Mr. Sullivan, just being the lifelong defendant that he is, committing such a horrible
that's got to be a hard one to, and I'm going to say have to raise a child, because in, I believe this is in Texas. Was this Texas? A lot of places in the South, Texas, Florida, whatever, Georgia, whatever it is, a lot of places in the South, they don't believe in abortions for like no reasons. So she would have to raise that kid. But then to have to look in that child, even if you love the child, that child is like a reminder or a receipt for what happened to you. That's, yeah. I'm leaning towards cut them off. No anesthetics. Just hand her the scissors. The young victim. Hand her the scissors. Just go and make it happen. And then they say he's a repeat offender. He's a lifelong criminal. This is a crazy one, though.
Horrible act to this young girl. I think he deserves every bit of this.
And it's my understanding from court records that he also threatened to kill her and her family if she told someone that he had raped her.
That's correct. That's usually a part of this type of offense, right? These guys want to exert some type of control over their victims to protect themselves. So they will often use threats of violence or harm to either the victim or the victim's loved ones and close relatives to keep that secret and to protect themselves. It's my understanding from speaking with the victim and her family that Mr. Sullivan does have a history of physical abuse. Mm-hmm. And so not only was it a threat, but it was a real threat. It was something that he was likely to follow up with. And so that definitely instilled some fear in this victim. And like I said, I'm very...
Why would they even give him 50 years? Why not just give him life, throw away the key, put him on death row, kill him, just any of that? Why give him any time at all so that there's a possibility that he gets out? If he's doing all the stuff that they're saying, him getting out shouldn't even be an option.
Very proud of her because at some point she said, enough's enough. I'm tired of this. And she came forward. And for somebody at such a young age in such a dangerous position to have the courage to come forward and see this all the way through, I felt obligated to bring her as much justice and as much vindication as possible.
And how old is she now? And is she still living in Livingston Parish?
Well, I don't want to give up too much about the victim, honestly, because I don't want to do anything.
But we do know she's an adult now.
Yes.
Yes. Got it.
She is safe and she is, she's living her life.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
I'm glad that they didn't give her name. I feel like a lot of times they put the victim's information out there and that almost makes the victim seem like, all right, what about his, that puts the victim in danger. It definitely does. Because he could have loved ones out there too. And just because he's an evil man doesn't mean that evil men aren't loved by somebody. So there could be somebody out there that cares about this man and might want to do some kind of retaliatory situation towards her. So when they put people's name and yes, they still live in the township, and to me that's doing the victim an injustice.
And when the sentence of 50 years in prison and then the castration, physical castration, is that something that you requested, something that he requested? What?
So under the Louisiana law that's currently on the books, on the conviction of certain offenses, the court can order chemical castration. But there's a subsection that says with the defendant's written consent in lieu of chemical castration, we can order physical castration. So, and speaking with the defense lawyers, they were going back and forth with me over what type.
So he agrees to it? The hell we talking about? Yeah, snip, snip. Snip, 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 snip. Just put them in a door and slam it. Like, what's the discussion? If the man's saying that he wants it, I mean, I heard they giving people sex changes in jail. So if that's happening, he's saying he wants this, cut him off. What's the difference between that and a sex change? Yeah, chop, chop.
Type of sentence we were looking at, and the idea of a 50-year sentence came up. And I considered it, and I've said the only way I'm agreeing to 50 years is if he agrees to, instead of chemical castration, we do physical castration in this case. And so the defendant actually, after speaking with his lawyer, being advised of all of his rights, signed a written motion and order for the physical castration and agreed to it.
Now, was that...
That man looks like a pervert. Know that that's probably not possible, but just looking at him, he fits the profile, like straight up. He got the beady little eyes that are set out, like not up front with everything else. They just like hiding back. No kind of expression on his face. He looked oily. He looked greasy and wet. Just for some reason, he just looks damp. I don't even know why, but he looks damp. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. Yeah, go on, cut him off. Chop, chop.
Of chemical castration, we do physical castration in this case. And so the defendant actually, after speaking with his lawyer, being advised of all of his rights, signed a written motion and order for the physical castration and agreed to it.
Now, was that a tough decision on your part, or you said, this guy's a monster, let's move forward with physical castration so he won't harm anyone else when he gets out, if he gets out?
Yeah, the odds of him getting out are next to none, but you just never know. When laws change, DOC calculates time differently. He may one day get out. And when I thought about this in this particular case, given the act that was committed and the strength of the evidence, I had no problem at all whatsoever requesting this sentence. I mean, we have a DNA test that proves the child born from this young girl is his child. So there's absolutely no doubt what occurred. You know, our burden is beyond a reasonable doubt. And in my...
You know what's crazy, though? The way the court system is set up, if he was, let's say, some freak reason, they go ahead and let him out early while the child's still a minor, he'd probably still have visitation rights. And that's the reason why his ass never needs to get out. He should never see the light of day, period. I understand they're going to, you know, chop, chop or snip or whatever y'all want to call it. But even outside of that, him having the option of traumatizing this family again, like he wants to build a relationship with his son, that shouldn't be even an option. Yeah. They should, like, literally think about that. And instead of 50 years, go and give him not even 100 years. Because like he said, the laws could change down the road where they're a little more lenient on these damn perverts. And then he might just get a slap on the wrist. So just do him in now. Get life without, or put him on death row. Put him on death row. Is that even legal? Like, would they ever charge somebody, try to put somebody to death if another life wasn't taken? That I'm not sure about at all, but it seems like it warrants it, though, to me.
Nearly 11 years as an assistant district attorney, I have never prosecuted a case that I didn't really believe in. Because if I don't believe it, I'm not going to prosecute it.
Liar.
But in this case, you had no choice but to believe the man was guilty.
I call cap.
And so given the fact of what he did and how he has turned this girl's life upside down forever, I was very quick and had no problem making that decision.
All right. Brad Cascio, who is the Assistant District Attorney in Livingston Parish, we want to thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored and sharing the details of this case since it's been adjudicated already.
All right, y'all. I'm going to get on up out of here. Why don't y'all leave a comment? Tell me what you think. Like, subscribe, share it on social medias. Hook your boy up. Opinionated 3 Stacks out.